my name is Antonia. This is PerryPictures, and today we are going to do an art book reveal video. We're going to check out some of the art books that I have purchased to help me along my art journey. It's to help me learn things that have influenced me or that I have found interesting, and I know recently I've been watching other creators' art books videos, sort of like an art haul, but without the shopping, without the buying. It's just kind of like your collection, your influence over time. I did start off my college experience pursuing video game design, and so you're going to see some of that influence in here, some of the things that I was looking into that I thought would help me in that regard. And then I switched over to a cinema degree, and I finished my studies in film and got my film degree. So there's going to be some influence there too, but I promise you it's all relevant, not irrelevant, but it's all relevant. They tie together so well, like storytelling in any medium. There's going to be a lot of bleed and a lot of carryover from film, from animation, from comic books, from storybooks. All of it really connects, and so it's all going to make sense, trust me. This is a book that I picked up when I was really considering animation. I hadn't even started college yet, and I really just knew I wanted to do something with art. And that something might have been animation, but I ended up not going that route. I don't think I had quite the ambition that you need to be an animator. I think comic creation is the sweet spot for me, but it still helps. And this is 100 Principles Every Animator, Comic Book Writer, Filmmaker, Video Artist, and Game Developer Should Know. That kind of like checks all the boxes, right? Those are all the things I was interested in. I'm just gonna flip pages. I'm gonna talk to you about like what I thought was interesting when looking through these books. Obviously I really wanted to learn about the basics, really. I think every book sort of touches on the basics. I was looking for how to like tell a story, getting the tone, getting the pitch, getting the pacing, getting all these different little invisible principles. And it's not about the technique of how you draw, but it's about like what you draw and why you draw it and where and when you put that in the story or in the picture. But like the second half of this book is really giving it to you when it comes to backgrounds. And I think that that is something that deserves a lot more page space than I often see it get in a lot of these how to draw books. So I appreciate that. In this book, you can really enrich a story. You can really elevate a story by giving some attention and some time and some detail to your settings, to your backgrounds. Next one is called Directing the Story. This is going to also really impact me when it comes to just making the decision to go the cinema route, the film route, because I realized it wasn't just drawing that I wanted to do. I didn't want to just create characters. I didn't want to just design characters or design environments. The storytelling part was way more important than I realized for me. Finding books like this and realizing I'm really interested in that really did help me find myself as an artist. And I think that you don't have to buy the book, but listen to your inner voice and what it's telling you excites you and what it's telling you is interesting to you and motivates you. It'll definitely lead you the right way, like the right direction for you. Professional storytelling and techniques for live action and animation. If you want to look at storyboards, this book has got some storyboards for you. There was a lot of like contextual information up front, but then you get into an example of a storyboard. We're getting like the full scene here across several pages. I don't think they were concerned about trying to keep the book like lean. They were really just giving you what they felt would really help you to understand. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room when they decided what pages were gonna make the cut or not for this book. Anyway, I'm not gonna try to like really go down each section of the book, but I've had them for a while, and I do keep them right next to my desk. I don't know if I put like a montage at the beginning of the video, maybe I'll do one at the end of the video, maybe I'll do one right now while I'm talking, and I'll cut myself off and just suddenly have a big old montage of my home office. But these books are right next to my desk, at arm's reach, right above my binders, which are 2 shelves down, for all of my actual work that I'm doing. Like I've got a different binder for each comic that I'm working on, I've got a binder for my role-playing groups, I've got a binder for my actual job. But yeah, these are handy. They're where I can see them, because if I can't see them, I won't remember that I have them and I won't use them. I'm gonna go through these next 2 books together, because I'm hitting on a very common theme here and I don't want to be too repetitive. But we've got here cinematic storytelling and Dreamworlds. Cinematic storytelling is going to double down on a lot of the things I said about the first 2 books. But at this point, I absolutely knew that I was going to study film. I had already made that commitment. I applied to the school. That leads me to this. Dreamworlds, this is an animation-based book, and this is Hans Bacher. I got this for how aesthetic it was. The whole point of this book is to teach you about aesthetics. And I think of all the books that I've put out so far, this one would probably be my biggest recommended for any artist. One of my favorite learning methods, this is gonna sound so stupid, but I'm gonna say it anyway, I don't care, is learning through like visual osmosis. Like I will just stare at something for a very long time. And while I'm looking at it, I'm like picking apart the details. I'm scrolling my eyes from top to bottom, left to right, and I'm looking for like, oh, I really like the way like these lines connect. I like the line thickness or the variance in line weight. I like the color. I like the vignette that they put around something, or whatever it is that I'm finding I like, dislike, or if it's my own work that I'm evaluating, what I would have done differently. People think I'm weird when I stare at my own work for a very long time after I do it, or even when I'm like almost done but not finished, I'll stare for a really long time and it's like, what are you doing? Are you that impressed with yourself or whatever? Or I don't know what they think I think, but I mean, look at this. We got Aladdin in here. There's a lot of really good films that you guys are gonna recognize if I flip through here. Long story short, I like to learn through observations. Your brain is constantly, as you're learning and as you're experiencing things, it is carving new neural pathways in your brain. Those synapses are firing off and they are making new connections. And that's what I'm doing when I'm staring at stuff. So anyway, this book, beautiful, phenomenal. Take your time with any art that you enjoy, a piece that you're staring at today and a piece that you really enjoyed 5 months ago, and eventually that's going to make its way into your own personal artwork. I truly believe that. So we all kind of start here, don't we? Like, I feel like this is sort of the starting block for a lot of artists when it comes to picking out how-to books. I love Tom Bancroft. I love the art. I love the style. I would buy all the books if I could. I know that he has multiple books. It has such a Disney-esque style, but it also sort of blends with comic book style. And it goes over that too. It does in this book as it's teaching you character design, because part of character design is also knowing the medium you're designing for. It talks about designing for animation. It talks about designing for comics and like how detailed you want it to be. Like, see, here's a very detailed image compared to all the others we flipped through that were very animator friendly. Here also Tom Bancroft. Can you tell that I like Tom Bancroft? A lot of similar stuff going on here. Doubling down. I actually think I started with this one and then I got the character mentor. So I started with creating characters with personality, then character mentor. Both superb books. Love them so much. Especially this one, creating characters with personality, is going to put an extra focus on expressiveness, not just expression, like facial expressions. It's going to talk about like the character design. We're talking the wardrobes. We're talking shape language with the body and the proportions. It's also going to discuss like line of action and how posture is also a form of expression and how you posture your character impacts its readability. So I've got some kitty paws in here, but this is Figure It Out. It is the beginner guide to drawing people. This is Chris Hart. For everyone who wants to draw good anatomy, but doesn't feel the most comfortable with how overwhelming anatomy can be. I made a video called 3 different ways to draw anatomy and poses. And the block and bubble method, definitely learned that from this book. I don't think it's called the block and bubble method in this book. Perfect example. This is block and bubble. I thought this book was really good for learning anatomy without learning anatomy, as far as like you don't need to know the muscle groups, you don't need to know like the skeletal build, but they will teach you the proportions for the main body grouping. This book helps. I truly think that. The Figure It Out helps with that situation. So yeah, recommend that, especially if you're a little squeamish when it comes to dissecting bodies. Like, you don't want to know necessarily what's underneath the skin. You don't have to. Figure It Out is fine. You can do it that way. Sketching people. This is kind of like the next step with Figure It Out. Like, now we're going to talk about figure drawing, and this will help you with not having same face syndrome. because it's about drawing observable differences. What if somebody's not Wonder Woman or Superman without like any fat or anything on them? Well, they're all gonna have very same body, same face syndrome. But then if you want to start creating diversity and more realism in your characters, I think something like this would help. Any figure studying class that you want to do, if you just want to like be a people watcher at a cafe and try to like do quick sketches. I honestly thought before taking a figure study drawing class that it was super boring. I was like, I don't want to draw a bowl of fruit. I don't want to draw a random person sitting like a marble statue on a raised platform. That ended up being so much fun. I won't speak for everybody, I won't speak for you, but when I did it, I'll speak for me. It really changed how I saw mass, depth, and that understanding from drawing those things also influenced how I draw things like backgrounds. Not just from reading it, but from actually doing it. Let's look at how to draw Garfield and how to draw cats and kittens. It doesn't always have to be serious, and it doesn't always have to be studious, and it doesn't always have to be like brain-meltingly hard. Sometimes you just want to do something fun and goofy and simple, and that's okay. I got this for 25 cents, probably at like a thrift store or like a garage sale or something. I have 3 cats personally, and so being able to draw them would honestly make me very happy. And then I'm not even the biggest Garfield fan. I think I do have one Garfield comic book around the house somewhere, but I don't know where that is right now. But I do have how to draw Garfield and the gang. We've got Odie and we've got the other cat. Just a cute little how to draw a Garfield book. And I do remember my very first actual art class was in middle school. I got to take it for like, I think it was 6 weeks tops. And we did this like drawing by grid. It was like a 9 square grid with Garfield on it. And then we were giving a massive 9 square grid paper, and we were supposed to try to draw the same thing, but large. And I think when I saw this book, I probably remembered that middle school exercise. It was a good memory. It made me happy, and so I got this. This probably predates every book that we've looked at already and every book that we're going to look at for the rest of this video. So I started with this one. And I do think it was a little too advanced for me at the time. I was going through this. I was interested. I was impressed by what I was seeing. I just didn't understand it. I didn't really know what I was looking at. I just knew that I wanted to be able to do it. And so like, I think the one thing I took away from this was like little drawings like this of trees and like benches, hills, grassy hills. I wasn't ready to draw people. So I started somewhere like this. I wanted to start with more organic shapes that were a little more forgiving. So I started with a couple of really small sort of pocket sketchbooks, little CVS notepads, you know, like not even true sketchbooks, but just little like non-lined paper. And I would go outside and just draw whatever was outside. Some trees, some bushes, some like grassy hills, things that weren't too extreme. I think that's a good place to start. It made me feel happy, it made me feel successful at what I was attempting, and it encouraged me to keep going. And at the end of the day, that's what we really need, right? Encouragement to keep going. And this is the Animators Survival Guide. This is also sometimes lovingly called the Animators Bible. I've done a couple of small animations. I've definitely done the bouncing ball exercise. I've done the walk cycle exercises. I've done the lip syncing exercises. I have examples of all of these things. I still reference stuff like this from time to time, and I can kind of look at like keyframes. Maybe I don't need the full walk cycle or full animation to illustrate that somebody is panicked and running. I just need those keyframes, right? And so I can look at examples in this book to figure out what are the keyframes and how can I use those in my work as a comic creator. This was my next purchase after the Animator Survival Kit, where I realized, okay, I'm not going to transfer to animation college. I'm not going to do an animation degree. I'm going to do a film degree. My next step really was this book, the Screenwriter's Bible. It is a thick book, but I committed to it, and I really did read through this, and I tried to absorb as much information from this as I could, and it's not wasted even to this day. While I'm not writing scripts per se, I am still using a lot of the storytelling techniques. Let's talk comics, because I have these books here that were for comic creations. We have Drawing Cutting Edge Comics. This is Christopher Hart. We have Stan Lee's How to Draw Comics. And we have Extreme Perspective for Artists. This book, you remember how when I told you this book here, Sketching School, was too advanced for me at the time that I had purchased it, and I was going through it and I was in over my head, right? Same thing here. I would still be in over my head, so I'm not even here yet. I'm holding on to this book until I am ready. We'll start with Family's How to Draw. This book is great because it has them really kind of explaining to you how they did this instead of you looking at a finished product like this right here. Gorgeous, gorgeous finished product. And then just staring at this and trying to osmosis your way into recreating something similar. It's so nice to be able to see how they think about what they do and how they manage to do it consistently because they've explained it in their book. And then of course you just end up with all these really great like splash pages or whatever. Like you get these gorgeous examples in the book that are just eye candy. Oh, and look, color theory. Another thing on my list of things I want to improve. Cutting edge comics. This sort of like style is kind of what I would consider the prime of deviant art days before it just kind of became not what it used to be. This was first printed in 2001. I like this book because not only does it have this very early 2000s style that was also sort of romanticizing the punk 80s, you're kind of looking at the evolution over time. It's different now in the 2020s, and then you've got the 2000s here, and then they're reminiscing back another 20 years to the 80s. So I just kind of find this very fascinating in this time capsule kind of way. So before this, which is my sketchbooks, my actual sketchbooks here, the last book here that I was using as learning material / reference material is The Secret Art of Dr. Seuss. And I don't really take a lot of influence from Dr. Seuss, to be honest, but I do find it's a very liberated style. Like a simplified realism is what I would consider my own style to be, a very simplified realism. And then stuff like this is really here to remind me to push the boundaries of what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that I can avoid that kind of like stiffness when I'm trying to be too perfect, trying to get my anatomy too perfect or my proportions too perfect or the realism too perfect, even though I do have, like I said, a simplified version of that. It becomes stifling sometimes when you're trying so hard to make sure that you're not making things disproportionate, and then you end up with some very rigid looking art sometimes. I do. I'm speaking for myself. Like looking at Dr. Seuss, looking at art that isn't necessarily what speaks to me, but what can help me to grow out of my shell, because I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I hope you enjoyed going through my art book collection with me, and I'm glad that you got to the end of the video. I appreciate it. So if you liked it, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!